Hey everyone, I'm Tini, and the goal of this channel is to enrich your life experience through practical tips and strategies. And today it's all about how to redefine success to avoid burnout with Laura Rubin. She's a reformed hustler, joy mentor. She's an entrepreneur, a speaker, author, mother, former CFO, and passionate advocate. And she mentors other overachievers to move away from burnout and overwork by inspiring them to free themselves from society's rules of success and build the life they truly desire. Hey, Laura, welcome.
Thank you. I am so looking forward to today's conversation.
So I just want to jump straight in. Tell me about your multiple businesses and side gigs that you created that ended up causing your burnout in the first place.
You bet. So I lived my entire life checking off the boxes, starting with college, a career, marriage, family, all of those things. And I was just running through life on the hamster wheel. And I'm multi-passionate. I vacillated between working for myself, and then I'd go into corporate and work in corporate, and then I'd get tired of that and I'd go back to working for myself. And I just found myself, for me, I was either on the hamster wheel, running to catch up, trying to, going for that next thing without stopping ever to celebrate what I had accomplished. And then, or I was so burned out, I lived on autopilot, merely surviving, not really thriving. And I kind of bounced between the two, and I would do a job or I'd work for myself for a while. And then it was like, it's not enough, or I need to work harder, and that was the solution. The solution was, if I didn't like something, I just worked harder at it. Instead, when I finally hit midlife, I'd done that, I was continuing to bounce back and forth. The company I had worked for closed, and I was again in a situation trying to decide, do I go back to an 8 to 5? Do I start something new again? And really what I realized was that I was tired of the constant go and the constant switching. And I realized it was because I didn't know what really was important to me. And I didn't know who I was. I was so busy going to that next thing and trying to grab the brass ring or whatever I thought was going to make me feel better about myself and make me feel like accomplished and would satisfy my overachiever nature, that I never stopped long enough to really realize or understand who I was and what was important to me. And I hit midlife, and I hit this point where I had lost my job, the company closed, and I took that opportunity to stop and to reevaluate where I was and what I wanted to do.
Okay, it kind of falls into the thing that we're always used to doing. And also, I just read a post from one of my friends, and she was talking about how all the time success is defined by the numbers, and the numbers of people, of clients, the money in the bank, and all sorts of things. Is that what an overachiever would look like?
Exactly. So when I was striving for success, it was, where was I going in my career? What was my bank account? Exactly those markers that you talked about. The nice house, the nice car, the nice vacations, which, don't get me wrong, were wonderful, but what it was taking for me to maintain that, and what I was losing, basically losing myself to continue on that journey, it was soul sucking. I just was, like I said, I was either running frantically from thing to thing, doing, or living on autopilot, not enjoying life at all. And it was all the things that society tells us makes you a success I had, and yet I didn't feel it didn't feel good to me. It didn't, the career that I, worked so hard to get, or the companies I worked so hard to build, I got there, I did it, and it wasn't fulfilling. It didn't satisfy me like I thought it was going to. The big house, that it wasn't what I didn't feel fulfilled inside, because basically I was looking for my satisfaction, my worth. Everything was looking externally from me, which meant that there was always something I could do more. There was always, it never was going to be enough. So it wasn't until I turned inward and really looked at what was going on inwardly and started to do the work on myself that I felt successful, and I felt like I was doing what I wanted to do, and I was living in a state of joy and happy with my life.
Yeah, and it didn't necessarily fall into the rules set by society, did it?
It didn't at all, because society tells you you're making six figures, you're successful. Society tells you you have a savings account of X, that makes you successful. You're driving this car, you're successful. Well, okay, so according to society, I was successful, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel good about it. And I had worked myself to the bone to where I wasn't enjoying life just to be that kind of successful. No, I was not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like we all have a personalized definition or idea of success. And most often it is influenced by all the beliefs and everything that we see around us. And you mentioned that you started to look inwards. How did you do that?
I think the first thing that I did was paused, and I call it the power of the pause. And this was painstaking, because as a doer and as an achiever, stopping to pause, and stopping didn't mean I just let everything go and I sold everything and I went out into the desert to find myself. Stopping meant that in the evenings, instead of scrolling on social media, I read a book. I did something that was nourishing to my soul. Stopping meant that, or taking a pause. It's really not stopping, it's pausing. Pausing meant that at lunchtime, I actually took a lunch, half an hour, 15 minutes, and started to really just get out of my head and get into my whole being. I like to teach my clients about whole being living, whole being 360, because as doers, we live in our head most of the time. We live from our shoulders up. Everything is mental. And we ignore 3/4 of our body. We ignore our body. We don't enjoy the senses, what we smell, what we hear, what we feel, touch, taste, all of those things. And so the first piece is really pausing to enjoy those other pieces of life. And it is a difficult journey when you're used to filling your time with busyness. Again, that doesn't mean that you're going to stop completely, but it means that you're going to maybe take 5 minutes and just take a deep breath. Maybe it means that in the morning when you pour yourself a cup of coffee, you actually sit at the table and you savor the taste, the smell, what's going on around you. You start to pause and stop the busyness and the frenetic world around you.
I like the ease and the flow that you have when you talk about this. And what would you tell someone who wants all of these things, who wants to pause, but you know that we sometimes want to do everything? Like we have this perfect plan and we believe that in order to get something, we need to do everything right. And what needs to happen to just be able to take those 5 minutes and not want to take the entire day or change everything all at once?
I think that it is it's a realization of knowing that it doesn't work that way. Even it's it's being brave enough and having the courage to say, today it's just 5 minutes and I'm going to be okay with just 5 minutes. Because when we try to do the all or nothing, when we try to go from A to D and we skip the steps in between, we may be able to do D for 4 hours. Maybe we can get a day in of that kind of living, but then it doesn't happen. And then we beat ourselves up, the shoulds and the have tos and all of those kind of things. And then we're just back on that hamster wheel again. So it's the courage to wake up, and maybe even the night before, and set yourself a ritual that says, okay, I'm 5 minutes. That is all I'm going to expect myself to do today, is 5 minutes of a pause, whether that be in the morning, whether that be at lunchtime, whether that be in the evening. And then each time we're successful with one of those things that we do, and it isn't do, it's about being, but it is, I mean, it is pouring the coffee. It is, just really enveloping yourself in that. It's being aware of the situation around you. But each time that we're successful, then we can do it the next time and we're successful again. And we build upon it one small step at a time. And before we know it, then we're ready to take a bigger step because we have faith and trust in ourselves that we can do it, because we've proven with the little things that we can do it. So now we can try something that's a little bit more courageous, takes a little bit more bravery to do.
I like that. It's building self-assurance, right? With little steps. And yeah,
because if just like working out in the gym, if I showed up in the gym for the first day and never lifted a weight in my life, and I was going to go try to bench press 125 pounds, there is no way I wouldn't be able to do it. First of all, I'd hurt myself. Second of all, and then I'd never go back to the gym again. I have completely derailed my idea of making myself healthy. If I step into the gym and I realize that I've never been here before, number one, I might ask for help. Getting help, not doing this alone, that really solidifies the journey, because you've got someone that's going to stand behind you, that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to help you, hold your hand. If you don't have someone to help you, then start small. Pick something that it might be slightly out of your comfort zone. So in a gym, if you've never been there, it could just be, sitting on a machine and reading the instructions and trying 1 or 2 reps of that, whatever that looks like. But you're definitely not going to walk in and be able to lift 125 pounds. And when you do, like I said, you're going to fail. So then you just throw your hands up. Well, I can't do this. No, you started too big. Start small and get someone to help you.
Yeah, that's important, with the help, at least, to make sure that we're doing it without hurting ourselves.
Yes.
And we can go back.
That's exactly right. That's the thing. We get to choose. If we try, and that's why I always throw out 5 minutes, because I feel like anyone can spend 5 minutes pausing, doing whatever it is that looks like. But if it doesn't work, we've got later in the day. We've got the next day. It's all about building the muscle and continuing on the journey one step at a time. And it's not going to be perfect. And I call it a journey because it is a journey. And the other part about it is we don't ever arrive. Each time we build the muscle and we get better and better, then our steps outside of our comfort zone get bigger and bigger. Yet we have what's behind us to support us in those bigger steps, and we can do it. And we know that we can do it. We believe in ourselves.
Yeah, and that leads to success. How would you define success?
To me, success is living life on your terms, where your yes means yes, your no means no. Every day, your decisions are based on, does this get me? Does this align with who I am and how I want to live? Or does this not? And so it's basically living life on your terms and living, and to me, that's fulfillment. It's living a purposeful life, and the full is F-U-L-L. So we often talk about purposes. what's my purpose? And we look at, again, that's another external. People look for, are you my purpose? Are you my purpose? Are you my purpose? And you're scrambling because you feel like if you find this purpose, whatever that is out externally of you, then you're going to feel fulfilled. When really it's about, your purpose is living on your terms. It's knowing who you are. It's knowing what your core values are. It's knowing that, it's having friends that support you, and not having people in your life that don't light you up. It's doing things that light you up. It's all of those things. It's when you're living a purposeful life from internally, then that automatically magnetizes outwardly, and you start living on purpose, externally as well, but it starts inwardly.
I love it. And for someone who would like to redefine success in their life and to look at it as fulfillment and to feel all those things and to stop doing all the things all at once and checking all the boxes and being in that state of burnout, what are some practical tips that you have?
So the first one, start pausing, start 5 minutes at a time, start being aware. How many times do we drive to work and we get in the car and then we're at work? We have no idea how we got there, what lights we stopped at, what was happening. Pay attention on your drive to work. Just see what does it look like every day, and how does that change? How does the landscape change each day that we drive to work? Just starting to be aware. Then from there, when we've peeled back those layers, now let's start unleashing the real you. Let's figure out what your core values are. What do you really stand for? What do you really say hell yes to? And what do you want to let go in your life? Where are some boundaries that you want to set? Again, little steps, little things, and then those grow and grow. We also start living intentionally. I call it simplify to amplify. Start getting rid of all the extra things that you feel like you have to do and you should do and all of those. Start discovering, what is it that you want to do? What is it that would light you up? Simplify to amplify. Next one is that I always help my clients do, permission to play. As children, up until all the way through grade school, we are given permission to play, to free play. Once we hit junior high, middle school, whatever we call it now play becomes organized, has rules. It has to look a certain way. We can only do it at certain times. And we kind of take that with us into adulthood and forget what it means for free play. So I encourage my clients to play. Let's go swing. Let's dance. Let's move. Let's get out of our head, stop living from shoulders up, and start incorporating our whole body, whatever that looks like. And then we redefine success. Then we start looking at what's important to us. What do we want in our lives? How do we want to spend our lives? Who are the people that we want to hang out with? Little steps at a time. And then before we know it, we're now living life on our terms. And we know when there's a decision in front of us based on what makes us tick, we know if it's a yes or a no. And we tune in to what feels good to us.
Wow. It's basically like when you work, you reach a certain level and you understand that you start seeing that these are not the things that bring you joy, that you don't want to do them. And instead, what you're doing with the tips and your approach, you're teaching people how to be and teaching them how to discover themselves so that then they choose the work that fulfills them instead of doing the work, realizing that it's not for them.
And that's correct. And that's exactly right. You've reframed that so well, because when we redefine success, we get to redefine it for us. My success is going to be different than your success, then it's going to be different than my husband's success or my daughter's success. Because when we know who we are, then success is an inside game. It is up to us. And my success isn't going to look like your success. And so because like you said, we have spent our entire life looking for success outwardly and what we think it should be, it's not really success. We're not feeling successful. When we take it inside and start directing our lives from who we are, that's success. And it doesn't have to do with a number in a bank account or a car that you drive. Maybe it does, but it doesn't have to. It's all, in my opinion, it's all about living in a state of joy.
I love everything that you said, and mind blown right here.
Thank you.
So if someone wants to connect with you, read more about your work, where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on Instagram, Life with Laura Marie. I also do have my website, which is lauramarierubin.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Laura Marie Rubin as well. And I really encourage anyone that has a question about this, that's struggling, that just wants an ear to hear, check out those, figure out how to get a hold of me. And I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with people about where they're at and give them some ideas of where they can go.
I love that you encourage this genuine connection, because most times, when you talk to someone, people are afraid to send messages to people and to ask questions, because then they feel like they're going to be sold or something.
And you're right. And for me, obviously I'm here to make a living, but bigger than that is the passion to help these corporate and entrepreneurial, I call them hustle bunnies, get off the hustle train, forget the hustle. And myself was one of them, so entrenched in that living, we're lost. We don't know how to do it any other way. So my passion is to reach out and to talk to as many people as possible that want to change, and give them some tips and ideas and how they can do that. So please reach out, because that's my passion. That's where my purpose, that's how I live a purposeful life.
Yeah, and you feel it through your energy and how you talk about this. It doesn't even have to be the words that you say, it's the way that you say them.
And that's what I lost in so many years, was my energy. And I've gained it back, and I'm so excited about that. I want everyone to feel the same way I do, whatever that is that makes them feel this way, because there's no reason not to. There is no reason to not to love life to its fullest.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave with the audience, some parting words?
This changing the way you do life and looking at life from the other side of the desk takes courage, takes bravery, but it can be done. And it only takes that first step. And then you build on that step, and you build on that step. And don't do it alone. Whether that means you hire a coach, or you get in a group, or you have a trusted friend, do it with someone. That's going to ensure your success. And it is possible.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, everyone listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Tini. That was wonderful.